Alright, I'm going to go through the process of using a tail rope to tie up a hind foot. We use this on a couple of our horses and mules that are difficult to shoe on their hind feet if they don't want to pick their feet up, or if they don't want to hold it for very long and like to jerk it away, or if you've got an animal that is just dangerous to shoe on his hind feet. This is a good process to use. This is pretty much a two-man process, and how we set it up is we've got the two hitch racks. We got the post here, another big post here, and essentially we're just going to stretch the animal between them and hold his hind foot up with an extra rope. This is our tail rope, and what we have here, we're using about 1/2 inch twisted poly rope, and what we've got is about a 3-foot section here, which is, you can either braid it or just loop it into a small ring, and this needs to be a very stout ring. This is about a 1/2 inch diameter ring, and this one's probably 2.5 inches. So your first 3 feet section of rope, which is what this is gonna, you're gonna tie this into the tail of the animal, goes to a small ring like 2.5 inches. From there you have about a 30 to 40 foot section of rope, or whatever you need, braided into the other side of this ring, and this goes around to another larger ring, and this one is about 3.5 inches. Again, it has to be very stout, and this is just to keep it, when we pull the animal up, that this can't fit through the smaller ring. It'll stop right there. On this bigger ring you have a hobble, which is going to attach to the hoof, and we'll pull the hoof up with this. So again, this rope needs to be about 30 to 40 feet long, attached to your smaller ring, loops around with the bigger ring and your hobble on it, and it goes back through the smaller ring again, and then you've got all your tail end of your rope right here that we'll use. Seymour here is going to be our test subject. I'll kind of show you how we tie him up here to this first one. We're going to be stretching the animal out, and he's going to be pulling a lot on it, so it needs to be a very good quick release. And what we do basically is a modified timber hitch. So Trav goes around the post once, loops it back over itself, and goes back around the post again. He comes back with another loop, and then now he'll do his 3 wraps like he would on a normal timber hitch. So it's essentially just a regular timber hitch. You just do a couple of wraps around the post.
I don't pull the tail through, so you can just pull the tail.
Yep. And this will keep, no matter how tight he pulls on this, it'll be easy to get out, just in case. A lot of times an animal might throw himself when he gets stretched out, and we need to be able to get this undone quickly. So after you got your animal tied up, we're ready to put the tail rope on. So what we do is this 3-foot section of rope, this first section,
On the end of the tailbone.
we go right off the end of the tailbone, like you're gonna, and you're just gonna tie a sheep bend into this, and you're gonna want your ring fairly close. So you just do a sheep bend like you'd always do a tail tie with a sheep bend. And we also do a couple extra 1/2 hitches around it just to make sure it stays in there good and tight. Alright, so after you're tied into your tail, we're ready to go down and put the hobble on the back foot. And now this animal, Seymour, he's tame. I mean, he's not dangerous with his back feet at all, so we can just reach down and put this on. Now, if you have an animal that is dangerous, that likes to kick at you or whatever, what you're going to want to do is use a Scotch hobble on the opposite side to lift up his other back foot that you're not working on, and that way he's pretty much neutralized, so when you go to put this hobble on, he can't kick. So we've got the hobble there with the big rope, and this comes back up through the little ring, and now we've got our tail going all the way back to our other hitch rack here. And what you do here is you do one loop around the post just to give you some extra leverage, and you want to make sure to get your ropes separated when you loop it around, so you're not binding on itself, so we can make sure that we can pull on it. Now, like I said, this is pretty much a two-man procedure, so once he's ready, he can lift his foot up by just pulling on the rope, and we usually need a second guy to help pull the rope. Now we're just pulling, and just get him in a good comfortable position where you're normally going to shoe. And now he's stretched out and ready to go. Now you have to have somebody else holding that rope. You don't want to tie it off or anything like that. You just got to hold it so you can let it go in a hurry, or at some point, like right now, he's being good. So if you can get under there and work on his foot, you know, if it gets to a point where he's going to start to fight it, he'll kick and start to fight, you want to pull harder on that rope. This is basically a training tool. You're teaching the mule that the easy behavior to hold his foot there, and, you know, you're going to make it easy for him to do the right behavior. So if he starts to fight it, you're going to stretch him out more and make it harder for him. You're going to try to teach him that the harder he fights, that it's not comfortable for him. So now you can just get under there and work like you normally would in a good comfortable position for you, and it's safe. When he goes to fighting on that, he's going to yank on his tail, and hopefully he'll get the picture that he doesn't want to do that. So you can go ahead and let him back down now. What we like to do is, you know, you kind of go through your shoeing steps. You know, first you go through and trim and rasp them level. So you might, you know, spend a couple 3 to 5 minutes under there or whatever, and then give him a rest. We like to let him rest, and then after we come back and start our next step, and we'll come back and usually try to pick up our foot without using the tail rope. We'll just get under there and try to pick it up, and as long as he's good, we'll do that. The very first minute he yanks his foot away or just acts stupid, and we'll pull him again. We'll stretch him out with the tail rope. So like I said, it's pretty much a training tool, but then another good advantage of using this is it's a lot safer for your shoer. As long as you've got that rope tight, when he goes to fighting, you can get out of there quickly, and hopefully you're going to keep yourself safe as well. So that's kind of our process that we use for using a tail rope to tie up a hind foot when you're shoeing.